It has been a long time since we checked out the property, but life has been pretty busy. Welcome to the Hippie Geeks. Let's take a look at what has changed on our off-grid property on the Big Island of Hawaii in May of 2024. As per usual, we are going to start down by the road and walk into the property, and as you will see throughout the walk, it is just about time for me to come through with the weed eater again and knock things down, especially in the driveway itself. It has been incredibly wet this year so far, and most folks that we have talked to that have been here for a while have said that this is the wettest start to a year that they have seen in a decade, and I believe it. It has been great for all of the trees on the property, and the grass and ferns also love it, but it has not been so good for solar power production. Off to the right, you can see one of the more recent areas that we cleared is still looking good, and all of the ferns seem to be doing well. We haven't made it too much further into the woods on this side yet, as a lot of our focus has been further into the property. On the other side of the road from there is the little garden area that we discovered, and the plants that are in there are still doing well, but yet again, we haven't really done anything more with this space yet, so let's keep going. The next area to take a look at is the little pathway that we cut down into the flat area on the right side of the driveway, and we had initially cleared this with the intention of putting a structure down here. That has not happened, but I decided to use the area for something completely different, at least for now. The pathway is a little overgrown at this point, but it isn't bad, and as you come back into the space, you can see a weird pallet structure tucked away in the trees. This is actually our humanure composter, and it is working out great so far. If you are going to live off-grid, you need to do something with your number 2, and this is the direction that we went. I will actually be talking about this more in depth in an upcoming video, as there are a lot of questions about just how to do something like this. If we head back out to the road and look across to the other side, we have the meadow area that is below my neighbor's place. This looks considerably different than it did in the last walkthrough, as I finally got in here and knocked all of the grass down. There was a structure down here at some point in the distant past, and you can see the pile of old rotted lumber that was left behind after it was disassembled. At some point in the far future, we are probably going to put a bunch of raised beds in this area to grow food, but for now I will just keep it cleaned up as a good place to turn around or park if we need to. Heading further into the property, we walk up the first little hill that we have, and that brings us up to the flat area with all of the pahoa lava. We haven't done much to this area either, but you can see that a lot of the grasses have started coming back. They aren't nearly as tall as they were when I first knocked them all down, and I will get back down here with the weed eater soon to keep them in check. As we keep going, we are heading towards the meadow, and off to the right we have a pile of branches and building materials that we have cleaned up and set aside to use later. Coming up on the meadow itself, and the first place that we are going to check out is the flat area just before the meadow that we had cleared out in the last video. Things are coming back nicely, and we love seeing plants like this bamboo orchid. They are all over the property, and they have been blooming pretty much all spring, so there are always a couple to look at and admire. Now that all of the underbrush has been cleared up, this little pine seedling has absolutely exploded, and you can see all the light green fresh growth that it has on it. I think that we have 3 or 4 seedlings like this up here, and I can't wait to see them get bigger. Heading into the meadow itself, you can see our old Ford truck sitting here waiting for some parts to arrive. I didn't know it yet, but the parts that are about to arrive are not actually going to fix it, but that is a story for another day. There are actually going to be some pretty big changes in this area here in the next month or so, and you will probably see them in the next walkthrough that we do. Hopefully that won't take me another 6 months to post an update, but we will just have to see. Our champion wood chipper is still down here putting in the work, and I can say that we have definitely gotten our money's worth out of that purchase. As we head across the road from the meadow, you can see where I have been dumping the extra rock from the places that we have been cleaning up, and it has already started to level this area out into a more usable space. Eventually, I'm hoping to have most of this space flattened out, as I think it would be a pretty cool area to have a large outdoor kitchen, but we will have to see how that works out. It takes quite a bit of rock to even make a flat space this size, so it will not be a fast process, but it is definitely doable. As we start heading up the big hill to the rear of the property, you can see that the driveway in this area is getting pretty chewed up, and that is something that we are going to have to address and repair in the near future. There are several spots that are pretty chewed up, and it is getting worse, so it will probably be sometime in the next month or two. First, however, we are going to take a little trip along the pathway that we built on the ledge that is above the meadow, and we are pretty thrilled with how this turned out. We are using stacks of branches to make the path edges, as we have quite a bit of that kind of material, and we like how it looks. Over time, it will break down and start to turn into soil, and that will work out for our long-term goals with this area. There were several concrete blocks a bit up the hill that we have moved into this clearing, as we were thinking about building a new structure here as well. We are shelving that idea for the moment, but eventually we would like to get back in here and get that project started as well. As we finish walking up the driveway, you can see some of the dead snags that we have been working on cutting down, which is where a lot of the material that we use to edge the paths has been coming from. The rest of this will all get moved soon to consolidate it into one area so that we can easily grab it for new projects as they come up. At the top of the driveway, you can see the space off to the right that we have cleared out for a shower, and we actually just got this placed right before I made this video. We have been using a shower bag hung from a tree for the last 11 months, and it is time to get something a little more permanent set up. Across from the new shower area are the solar panels, and you can see that I have finally tilted the 400-watt panels to horizontal to get as much of the sunlight as possible. Over by the main structure, you can see the 2 guinea pig cages that I built to house our 3 guinea pigs, and this is the beginning of our animal poo harvesting journey here in Hawaii. Chickens will likely be next, but these little folks needed a new home, and we made that happen and have been spreading their poopy bedding around the garden for the last couple of months. To the left of the pigs, you can see that we have moved the laundry station closer to the place where we unload our water, and it has been working out pretty great over here as opposed to back by the laundry drying lines where it was before. In front of our main structure, you can see the nasturtiums that we planted in the old sink, and they have gone absolutely crazy here. The bees in Hawaii seem to love the red, yellow, and orange flowers, so there are always a few bees in this area harvesting nectar and pollen. Over on the other side of the structure, you can get a better look at the bits of garden that we have been able to get going here, and while it isn't anything compared to the garden we had in Eugene, we are feeling pretty good about it so far. All of the fruit trees that we started from seed are doing really well, and we are hoping to get some more growing areas built soon so that we can get these in the ground. Finally, we should take a look at the bananas that we have planted over the winter, and you can see that the dwarf apple banana is looking really great. This one has been in this spot since we first planted it in the video we uploaded months ago, and it has put out a bunch of leaves already. Looking over to the right, you will be able to see the Namwa banana that we planted at the same time, and you can see that it is not nearly looking as good. It does have a new leaf coming up finally, but it has been a while. A couple of months after we planted these 2 bananas, Lindsay decided that this one needed to move, and that decision stunted it pretty badly. There was actually a point that I thought that this thing was just going to die, so it is really nice to see it actually growing now that it has finally gotten a little warmer.